UCF fans, this is Brian Smith, publisher of Inside the Knights on Fan Nation, powered by Sports Illustrated. And I'm going to bring to you a few thoughts about the Louisville game coming up this Friday. There are a couple key matchups that I'm really interested in, as well as a particular player that I'm just fascinated with. And I'll get into that here in just a moment. Starting off, there are a couple of key points to bring up. This is game number one in terms of a team that, in my opinion, can match what UCF has in terms of skill talent. Now, I still think UCF has more, and I'm talking about corner, receiver, running back, etc., than what Louisville does because they're pretty inexperienced, but just physical skill, like running the 40, running the L drill, doing any kind of exercise you think of, you put them in anything. Louisville has a lot of guys that can really run. They have guys that are twitchy, etc. So that's very fascinating to me because if you get out of your control area, this is what you're supposed to do in defense. This is your zone or whatever. Either team has a player that makes a mistake. You give a guy a ball in space, either team, he can score. You give him a little bit of room, get some momentum going, that player can score. So UCF has those guys, and so does Louisville. So being assignment correct is priority number one for both of these teams. Malik Cunningham is the player that I'm fascinated with, him in particular in this game. If UCF is not assignment correct, he will light you up. He is a redshirt junior. He has played for a couple of years. He is a phenomenal athlete. He's the type of player that Nebraska 25 years ago would have loved to have had for its option offense. He's a Tommy Frazier kind of athlete. Now, he has a big arm and he can throw the football, but Malik has one humongous problem, historically speaking. Last year, as an example, he threw 12 picks. You cannot turn the football over and be a big-time college football quarterback. Now, Malik is certainly on that verge, but he has, again, a very young group of receivers, running backs, tight ends. I mentioned this earlier, and it's something that's not going to go away. They're experienced in the sense of, hey, we're the ones playing in practice, but that's about it. They haven't played a bunch of games, just like UCF. They played two. There's not a lot going on there, but here's a really quick analogy of what I'm talking about with the experience for Louisville and how I think UCF can gain at least one, if not two turnovers in this game to their positive. And that would be only one guy that's a senior has caught a pass for the Louisville Cardinals at receiver. Only one junior. They have two sophomores and two freshmen. Now, the average college football or just football fan in general is not in the booth like we are, and you can see the whole field. When you're in the booth, if you know anything about coverages, etc., the thing that you need to do is watch the DBs because television coverage, they follow the ball and pretty much follow the quarterback. You don't see what the heck's going on in the secondary. We see plays that should have or should not have happened before they develop because we're looking down and you can see it. I'm going to be watching how UCF covers the Louisville receivers because I think the Cardinals are going to take some shots. UCF is susceptible on third downs, on giving up short passes, etc. They tightened up against Bethune-Cookman. At the same time, they still gave up two over the top. Neither one of the touchdowns Bethune scored were from like 3 yards or anything. They were over the top. That is very concerning. Bethune has some talented players, but they're not on the same level as Louisville. With that, which player or players do you think Louisville goes after? And I just say all of them. I don't think they're worried about anybody. This is Scott Satterfield's offense. A lot of eye candy with motion, shifts. They try to gain leverage. He will find a way to scheme things up. He's very good at that. What they have struggled with, however, is the offensive line, which ironically, from what I'm told from Mr. McGavick, who runs a Louisville report for Sports Illustrated and Fan Nation, he told me that even though that was supposed to be their strength, they have been very inconsistent up front. If you follow UCF at all, obviously Kalia Davis, Montalvo, Big Cat, and Ricky Barber, who I have a special segment for here in just a moment, those guys are going to get after you. And then, of course, they're going to blitz. Guys like Bullard can come out of the secondary. You're going to have Tatum Bethune, Jean-Baptiste. They're going to change up the looks. You're saving. I don't care what coaches say. All coaches save stuff for bigger games. They're all liars when they don't admit to that. But there'll be something different. I have no idea what it is, but UCF will be saving something because, again, history shows Cunningham makes mistakes. So when he's trying to get the ball down the field to different guys, he needs a little more time. It just takes longer to run a 30-yard route than it does a 10. It's just math. Who comes after him? When do they do it? And does Louisville handle that pressure? Big Cat, I expect to get at least one sack. He missed a couple. He is ticked off at himself. I would not want to be an offensive tackle for Louisville this week. I have a feeling that he's going to have a big game. But the secondary is still going to need to make plays. UCF has talent in the secondary, but they have not lived up to it, in my opinion. And I'm a very harsh grader, but I am who I am. Their corners need to play better. They need to get their hands on even more balls. The safeties have improved quite a bit, and they put Dylan Wester in the secondary at safety, and Dylan's pretty darn good. He got his hands on, I believe, 3 passes in the game against Bethune, and it's just like some guys just find a way. Yeah, he had 3 pass breakups. Some guys just find a way, and he did a good job on a couple of them right at the very last moment, not going through the receiver in creating a pass interference, which a lot of inexperienced college players do. He used the proper hand, went around the receiver, and just barely, all you got to do is just touch the football, because from that close, you're not going to be able to readjust and catch a deflection. Incomplete pass. Incomplete pass. It changes the momentum of a game, because those are hard. It's hard to get PBUs. Pass breakups are very, very difficult. That being stated, we need more of those as a UCF football team here. We need a couple more, and Malik has a gun. The kid that was throwing for Bethune was incredibly accurate, and he knew when and where to throw the ball. He's a brilliant player, but he does not have the physical tools that Malik does. If he had Malik's arm, I would bet you anything that he would play in the NFL. He is extremely talented, but he's not. He's not that guy with that gun. Malik is, and he has an upside in certain games. When he gets going, he can absolutely kill you. The other part of Malik is once he throws it a little bit or runs, whatever they start out with, probably run. That's Scott Satterfield's MO. They're going to utilize run-pass option. And this is why I brought up a moment ago Malik Cunningham as being such a dynamic possibility, because, again, he's a freak athlete. He could play receiver, DB, whatever. It doesn't matter. He's that guy. It's just that his arm places him at quarterback. This guy gets on the edge and you make mistakes, you're in trouble. The player that I'm going to be curious about, and it's the unique position in football now, it's the most fascinating to me by far outside of quarterback, which that's a whole nother realm, and that's the hybrid linebacker position. UCF calls it the night. Bryson Armstrong is going to be put in very difficult positions number of times in this game, even when it's not a run-pass option. But when Malik comes out to his side, do I come up? Do I come back? I mean, UCF's going to scheme it how they want. But at some point, it's your own perception. How do I attack this play? Do I force Malik to throw? Do I run? And, of course, how much pressure he has on the edge. If he has none, you're in a lot of trouble. You need to have somebody on his tail to make him think, because when he just plays naturally, it's pretty hard. He can get you either way. He can throw pretty accurately. He's not as good a thrower as is a runner, but if he has a guy wide open, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's cut dry. You're going to be in trouble. I think Bryson's going to be put in a lot of tough situations because they're going to throw to the running backs and they're going to throw to the flat. They're just trying to get their guys in space. They do it a little differently than UCF, but it's the same general idea. Think of it this way. If you get Ryan O'Keefe or Jalen Robinson in space 5 yards down the field, would you take that time and time again? Absolutely. That's the same concept that Louisville wants to do. And then they want to add in a couple of bombs here or there, plus Malik being on the edge, making you make tough decisions. Bryson is just the one I think is important to bring up. Lester will be another. Devod Wilson, Quadric Bullard. Those 3 guys, the safeties and Armstrong, they're going to be roaming around looking for him. I'm just really interested to see what Travis and David come up with, the 2 DCs for the Knights, because you have to be assignment sound, but make him fear getting smacked. Al Davis said it best probably 40, 50 years ago. The quarterback must go down, and the quarterback must go down hard. This is absolutely number 1 priority for the Knights. Early in the game, Malik Cunningham has to get smacked, and I mean smacked. He must fear getting hit. If he does not, with his athleticism, I don't care what you do schematically, he's going to make 1 or 2 game-changing plays with his athleticism. He's that dude. Smacked. Now, that goes right back to scheme. You're not going to just hit him. Obviously, they're going to block for the guy. What do? Is UCF going to run 3-3-5, 4-2-5? They're going to mix it up. They're going to blitz a lot. They're just going to play zone, force him to stay in the pocket by running what I call a wide 4-3 kind of thing. Think of Miami or Florida State 30 years ago with how wide they lined up their DNs trying to keep quarterbacks in the pocket so they could just suffocate them. That might be an approach. He can still run through the middle, but there's more traffic at least. And you got your linebackers there. Tatum Bethune, I'm sure, would love to be the one to smack him. That's just an example. But when he does get to the perimeter, whether it's a waggle or a bootleg, look out for that. On the other side of the ball, there's only one thing that I really want to bring up. Dillon Gabriel is as good a field general as there is in college football. Let me give you the short definition of what I mean by that. I watch a ton of college football. I'm a nut. I watch film and YouTube all the time. He has the innate ability to accept, and this is where quarterbacks at all levels fail most of the time, even NFL guys, Matthew Stafford or anybody. They accept I have to go 5 yards at a time. Drives them nuts. I've talked to guys about this at all levels that, want to just destroy a team. I want to get it there now. Most quarterbacks are impatient. It looks cool on SportsCenter. It's great in the media guide, etc. And just the ego. I want to push the ball down the field. Dillon will throw it 5 yards at a time. And again, if you got O'Keefe and you got Amari and you got Jalen and you got all these guys out there, Brandon, it's not a rocket science thing to say, hey, I'm just going to let them do the work. But some guys can't. Dillon will do that. And then when teams come up, he will bite them with a double move play or a broken play, because Dillon's ability to escape the pocket and making dramatic plays has just changed so much. He's not a guy that just sits in the pocket anymore. That 44-yard touchdown run was a thing of beauty. He was very patient the whole way. It wasn't like he was totally sprinting, but he makes it. So teams have to fear his legs now. And additionally, he'll get to the edge and he'll just throw a 5-yard pass and the guy will run for 2 or 3 more yards. 2nd down and 2. The Knights have you right where they want you. If Louisville lets him outside the pocket, as ironic as this sounds, if you'd have told me this before the season, I said, you're crazy, but it's changed. If Louisville allows Dillon Gabriel outside the pocket, they are going to get smoked. They are not going to handle the UCF offense because of the following. I'm just going to make a simple statement from researching it and talking to people. The following is going to happen. UCF is going to be successful running the football. Period. End of story. That places Louisville in a tough spot anyway, and it's why I think UCF should win the game. I'll go ahead and say that too. But at the same time, they can really control the game if Dillon extends plays outside the pocket. He's going to make some throws, timing throw, because he's just darn accurate. He's just very accurate. But if he gets a couple extra plays, or even if it's just one chain mover here or there, or one shot play, which he's known to do as well when he rolls right or left, then Louisville's in big trouble. He's going to score some points. You got to hit him too. It's the same thing. He has to get hit if you're Louisville's defense, or they're in deep trouble. Louisville needs to keep Dillon inside the pocket, not allow him on RPOs, not allow him on waggles or anything else to feel comfortable. He's too accurate. He's unlike Cunningham. He doesn't have a cannon, but he's got a good arm, and his deep ball accuracy is incredible. So if they're not going to get after him with that, they're in trouble. With that, here's why I really think UCF's going to win and why they're going to run the ball. Nobody that is in the top 10 of Louisville's tacklers is a defensive lineman. And to my knowledge, from what little research I can gather from 2 games, there's not only so much. They really don't have a guy up front that I'm just going to say, okay, this guy's going to dominate his matchup or whatever. Who's going to block Big Cat or Kalia or Ricky Barber? That's the last point I'm going to make here in a moment. Is very important for Louisville. I think all 3 of those guys are going to get paid to play football. They're going to get paid. I don't know enough about Louisville from watching them. I obviously get to see UCF more, but when I watched Louisville play Ole Miss, they were terrible up front. Ole Miss just gouged them when they wanted with the running game, and you're not going to beat a Lane Kiffin team if you can't stop the run, because his passing schemes are tremendous, and Gus Malzahn runs a lot of the similar things that Lane Kiffin does for Ole Miss. So that's not a good similarity for the Cardinals. Last point before I get out of here. Ricky Barber, the transfer from Western Kentucky. Guess where he's from? That's right, Louisville, Kentucky. He played at Doss High School. It's 6.7 miles from the Louisville campus. Do you think that young man's going to be motivated to come back to his hometown? I guarantee it. Something tells me that if he went to Western Kentucky, that the Cardinals did not offer him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they didn't recruit him. Maybe he didn't want to go there. But without even looking, that just the hometown kid's not going to pass up Louisville to go to Western Kentucky. I doubt it. Again, maybe there was something there. I don't know. But he's going to be motivated no matter what. And he's a very good football player. At some point in this game, number 5 is going to make something happen. So with that, Brian Smith, Inside the Knights. Got quite a few articles up on the homepage at Inside the Knights on Fan Nation. Look it up. You can see it scrolling across the screen here. We're going to have a lot of different things coming up, not just UCF, but all across college football. This is a big weekend. This is when the polls start changing. Just had an article from Jason Hamby come up on the site talking about UCF is number 26 technically in the AP poll. I personally have them way higher than that. I've got them just outside the top 15. They're definitely better than that. But the AP poll is what it is. It's always very average at best, in my opinion. If you want anything in regards to coverage of the matchups, there's going to be some of that. Going to have more of that tonight and on Wednesday and Thursday. Going to also be up in Louisville this week. Going to be talking to some of the fans and going to be talking to some of the players' family members on Thursday evening at the team hotel. So I'm looking forward to that. Everybody be safe. Have a happy week, and I will talk to you very soon.